Welcome back, Common fans, to another edition of the Common Fan Podcast. It's another celebration pod after the Huskers put a beat down on the Purdue Boilermakers. The good guys in red are now 5-3 overall and at 3-2 in the conference in a four-way tie for first place in the Big Ten West. First place, boys.
Yeah, boy.
Say it with me,
Let's
Common
go!
fans. We are going to be playing meaningful football games in November, and boy, does that feel good. Also, for those keeping score at home, the Nebraska Cornhuskers are now 5-3, as mentioned, while the Colorado Buffaloes are currently 4-4. Just in case that's of interest to anyone.
Anybody? Yeah, if anybody cares about that kind of stuff.
I am TJ Burkle alongside Matty Owens Sr. and Geoff in Lincoln. Boys, good evening.
Good evening, team.
Good evening, Tej. Woo!
Good weekend to be a Husker, boy, I tell you.
Great weekend. We're also joined tonight by friend of the program, Charlie Colon. Charlie is what some might call a Renaissance man, as the owner of Chick-fil-A at South Point. He's a former Husker baseball player and member of the Nebraska Baseball Hall of Fame. He's a huge Husker football Common fan and an all-around fine American. Charlie, thanks for joining the Common fans tonight.
TJ, my pleasure. Good to be in the podcast house with you guys tonight.
It's great to have you. I did look up your class in the college or in the Nebraska Baseball Hall of Fame, and that's some high company. You were with, I think, Alex Gordon and a handful of others. Am I correct on that?
I had absolutely no business being compared to any of those guys. They were way better. I was completely the outlier there.
You said it, not me. No, just kidding. Obviously, well deserved, and we're happy to have you on tonight, Charlie. Quick reminder to follow the podcast on your streaming platform of choice. Follow us on Twitter at CommonFanGBR. If you want to send us an email, we'd love to hear from you at commonfangbr@gmail.com. We also now have a Common Fan Facebook page, as well as a Common Fan Instagram account. So we're basically going global here,
we're
boys.
Everywhere.
If we have time at the end,
Here
or possibly on a later pod, I will tell the story of me setting up our Facebook page. It's a very embarrassing story, and not something I'm proud of, but it took way longer than it should have. And we can get into that maybe a little bit later.
I hope we do, TJ. I hope we do, because I envision that being a little bit like the old Saturday Night Live skit where Phil Hartman was the caveman lawyer.
Well, let me give you a little bit of a teaser. I started on Facebook, you can set it like individual people can set up a profile, but if you're like a business or a brand or an entity, something other than a human, you can set up a page, right? So your profile is, anyway, I started setting up a profile instead of a page, and I put first name Common, last name Fan. I'm not joking. I was like, this doesn't feel right, but I'm just going to keep going with it. So we can get into that more another time. We got a lot to cover tonight, boys. We do. Yeah. But please do engage with us on all of these social media outlets. Send us an email. We had a lot of fun with the roll call yesterday. Guys, I just want to pause for just a moment, and I'm not one for patting ourselves on the back, but let's pat ourselves on the back a little bit. Our first podcast episode was recorded less than a month ago. It was released, like 3 weeks ago? And it's really exciting to see how many people are responding. So for the last two games, we've done this roll call on Twitter, and we've kind of asked people to put out pictures of where you're watching from. A lot of people who have been at the game or tailgating have posted pictures, but we've also had responses from Husker fans in Florida, in Texas. This week we had Soda Husker respond, Husker fan in Minnesota, University of South Dakota volleyball Hall of Famer Lindsey Freeman, also a Pius grad, responded with a pic at the game yesterday. So that's just been a really fun feature. Charlie Colon, featured guest this evening, has responded a couple of times from the, what do you call that? The Chick-fil-A truck in near the horseshoe.
Absolutely. The trailer outside of gate 21.
Yeah, that's a beautiful spot you guys have there, by the way. So we appreciate you posting, but keep it coming, Common fans. We love to see the enthusiasm. We also currently have a poll going on Twitter. So if you're listening to this on Sunday night, or probably like up until midday or early afternoon Monday, You can participate in the poll. The poll is asking, what is the best way to stay warm at Memorial Stadium? The options to choose from are Runzas as hand warmers, fireball shooters, smuggled in whiskey, which I guess would be similar to fireball shooters, but not exactly the same thing. And then the last one, hard boiled eggs in pockets. Now, just a little secret of the trade to you common fans out there. Matt, Jeff, and I kind of trade off running the Twitter account. So you never, like, any one of us could be posting at any one time. So Matty O was responsible for this tweet. Matt, what in the name of sweet corn and big red chewing gum why would you have hard boiled eggs in pockets really ever, but especially at a Nebraska football game?
Right. Well, I know it sounds a little crazy, but when how the older generation, my dad will sometimes, he'll get going about how much tougher he was and how much tougher everyone was back in the day. So he used to tell me stories about how he and his siblings would walk to school, and they were so poor, they didn't all have gloves. So my grandmother would boil some eggs, and they would put hard-boiled eggs in their pockets and put their hands in their pockets, and that's how they keep warm on the way to school. So, it's one of those things, TJ, where you want four things on the poll, and there's one option left, and I thought, what's going to go here? And I thought of my old man.
First of all, that's a beautiful story, Matthew. Second of all, I haven't looked. Has hard-boiled eggs in pockets gotten a vote? Gotten any votes?
You know what? There are early returns on that, TJ. There's a few more votes than I had expected for the hard-boiled eggs. Well, it's just some of the jokers, some of the common fans out there just wanting to be smartasses about
this. It's a 21.4%, currently running third, but it's not that far behind. It's not that far behind Runzas as hand warmers. So other people must know about this. That's all.
If you have to choose between,
maybe it's
a hard boiled. Go ahead.
Maybe, as I say, maybe it's more of a central Nebraska thing. So maybe those folks are from the Valley County area. Maybe they're from Ord or from Arcadia, Nebraska, or one of those beautiful towns out there.
Well, as you know, the voice of the common fans stretches far and wide across the windswept plains. So
sure does.
It really could be,
sure does.
From anywhere. Jeff, sorry, were you gonna say something there?
Is there really a difference between a hard-boiled egg and a cabbage and beef hot pocket in your opinion? They're both, I think they taste about the same.
If we had, I don't
even understand what you're talking about.
What are you talking about? That's what a Runza is. It's a beef and cabbage hot pocket.
I don't know about that, Jeff.
We're not going to do this. We're not going to get started.
I feel like this is sacrilege, Jeff.
Yeah. All right, let's move on.
If we had one more thing, if we had any sense at all, we would have put an option there for a smuggled Chick-fil-A sandwich as a warmer in honor of
Matt, I got to be honest with you, that wouldn't have worked because people are eating those before they go in. So that is just an empty wrapper, my friend.
Well, absolutely.
The evidence is anecdotal. I don't have any data to back this up, but it looks like they're eating lots of them, Charlie. So hats off to you and the Chick-fil-A team for that. They're selling lots of chicken sandwiches. So we often encourage fellow common fans to email the show. The email address is commonfangbr@gmail.com. We got an email from Lucas, who's a loyal listener. Shout out to Lucas in Lincoln. Thanks for the email, buddy. The email asks, is Jeff Sims allergic to pigskin? Now, Lucas,
he might be onto something there. He might be onto something.
This is an important time to remind Lucas, we're just common fans here. We're not doctors. And we're also, we're not on the staff, so we don't have access to the medical records either. Now, the evidence that we see on TV would indicate some symptoms of being allergic to pigskin. But I think it's an open question.
Well, that's funny, but also we don't want to pile on a kid. From all accounts, he's a good teammate and he works hard, but I'll be danged if they put him back into a game. I think the entire common fan and Husker Nation is going to be real nervous.
let's be honest. I mean, the fumble bug was all over the place yesterday,
Yeah,
Sure was.
across a lot of different fronts, and that was unsettling to see. I know the elements were an issue in Lincoln yesterday, but certainly, I mean, something that's plagued Husker teams for a long time now. They've got to get a handle on that. Like now, next season, whatever it is. Again, like huge credit to Rhule's teams for not falling apart when these things happen and not letting it derail things. And the defense, man, you can almost just bank on the defense making a stop when this stuff happens at this point, which when was the last time we had that? So, you know, huge credit to the team for overcoming this stuff. You just hate to see it put them in this kind of spot.
Again, Tej, like what I've said in previous podcasts, anytime that would have happened in years prior, game over. For some reason, the team would not recover, but you can see it in this team that it does not matter what kind of obstacles we have to face. We don't allow ourselves to get absolutely just off track and railroaded. We fight back, we stick with it, and we're a lot mentally tougher, I think, is really what I'm seeing from this team now.
I think that's right. And I think Rhule, whatever he's doing is working. He's really instilled a lot of belief in this team. The Huskers beat Purdue 31-14. Gentlemen, I believe it was Ronald Reagan who said, in mankind's long climb from the swamp to the stars, the first step is to beat all the second-rate bull junk programs like Illinois, Northwestern, and Purdue. That might not be the exact quote, but mission accomplished for the Huskers. We've talked, this has been a running theme on this show. It's been a rough stretch for several years now for the Huskers. And one of the most maddening things for the fan base has been not beating these teams that we've historically been better than, and we are used to putting away. And so we take care of business against Illinois. We take care of business against Northwestern. And then we really, I mean, even with the turnovers and kind of the late drama, that game was never really in doubt yesterday. Once we got a lead, once we got the 14-point lead, we never lost a double-digit lead. And so it just feels great to take care of business. We've kind of flipped the narrative. We go from 2-3 after the Michigan game. Suddenly we're 5-3. We're basically control our destiny in the Big Ten West. And we're well on track for a bowl game. And as all common fans know, look, at this point, we're talking about much more than a bowl game, which is super exciting. But first step is securing that bowl game. We need to win one out of the next four. Hopefully it's a lot more than that, but we need to win one out of the last four. We've said it before. We'll say it again. Just get me to 6 wins. I don't care if it's the Vandelay Industries Bowl on December 11th at 9:30 a.m. Get me that 6th win, preferably next week, and we are dancing in the streets, baby.
And by the way, TJ, that the Vandelay Industries Bowl, for those who don't know, will be in Sheboygan.
That's right.
They agreed to it.
Well, that was another poll we put out during the week, and we offered New York City, Las Vegas, Scranton, Pennsylvania, and Sheboygan. And believe it or not, Sheboygan was the winning poll. And so we informed the city of Sheboygan about this high honor that the Vandelay Industries Bowl had selected Sheboygan, Wisconsin as their location. And they said, when are you coming? So, we've got to have the folks at the Vandelay Industries Bowl get a hold of the city of Sheboygan, but very exciting stuff for all involved.
Yep. It's
how fun,
Vandelay.
how much.
Go
Sorry.
ahead, Charlie.
No, I was just going to say, how fun it would be if you are a recruiter, one of the lead recruiters at Nebraska this week versus 3 weeks ago, 6 months ago. You got a 3-game win streak. You print off the fact that we're tied for the Big Ten North. Like, your job just got so much more fun this week.
You're so right. It's the Big Ten West, Charlie. You're thinking of the Big 12.
Did I just say North?
You did.
I was literally just looking at a stat here. You're right. I was looking up Oklahoma stats. Old Oklahoma, Nebraska days gone by.
No, that's all right. That's such a good point. I mean, talk about a team with momentum, a team that's playing for something. And I mean, look, we talked about the issues with the offense. I'm sure we'll talk about that more tonight. But I mean, if you're selling this defense to a recruit, holy smokes, who wouldn't want to come play for this defense?
Yeah. The one thing I would say, Tej, is you talked about it too, is this the end of the game kind of was worrisome a little bit, but it's almost like Nebraska tried their best to like remember that they were Nebraska, so to speak. And I remember texting you and saying, like, before that happened, I need to focus on just the positives, because that's the last thing I remember was the end of that game. But you did bring up a good point when I said, I'm content with that first half. And you're like, it's the best first half of the season by far. I'm like, oh, damn, he's right. Like, I always tend to focus on the negative, but you're right. Like, that first half of the game was fantastic. It's the best we've had. And I need to focus on those things instead of the last thing I remember at the end of the game with a turnover.
Well, I think you're right. And one thing that kind of sums up exactly what we're talking about is the first sequence of events, like the first handful of plays where we're receiving the ball. We fumble the kickoff, and then we thought we had it and probably should have gotten a playoff there. But then, of course, they blow it dead. College Football Industrial Complex weighs in.
Over that.
They get their review. They give the ball to Purdue. All common fans could be forgiven for, at that moment, executing a hat throw.
Yeah.
I mean, that was one of those, if you threw your hat across the room, again, not at any other humans, but if you threw your hat, if you punched the couch, this is a safe place for you. We don't judge. Guiding principle number 2, we don't judge on this podcast. So that was a hat throw moment. Absolutely. This is the God's honest truth, guys. The very next play, Purdue has the ball. Hudson Card, their quarterback, goes to pass, and he, like, in his throwing motion, just like dropped the ball. Yeah. Like it was a fumble, because he didn't start the hand moving forward before he dropped it, but he just dropped the ball, and then he landed on it. But they immediately lost 5 yards, and I immediately had the feeling, I'm not joking, I immediately had the feeling, like, you know what, we're gonna be fine. Like we're gonna win this game. I don't know, and I haven't felt. I'm like, we've had
good feeling, isn't it?
We've had double-digit leads, and I've been like, yeah, we're definitely gonna lose. Like, I don't know what it was.
Like, that's what a great defense can do for you, though, right? Like, it's like, oh crap, we just gave the ball away on the kickoff. Now here comes the defense, but they still had to go 25, 30 yards, maybe. I don't know for sure, but you feel so confident in that defense coming out there. I'm thinking, just hold them to 3. Like, just hold them to 3, right, and we'll get the ball. And like, yeah, that's too bad that just happened. But when you have a great defense that can bail you out, and they have consistently done that, and hopefully they can continue to, it's just a confidence. It's a confidence thing, right? At least from a fan perspective. Like, I'm up there in the stands. Well, here comes the D. Thank God they're going to save us again. So,
well, and I think it was key. I mean, Purdue I think they had 2 penalties on that draw. I don't think they got a first down there. So they had the Hudson Card drop ball. They have 2 penalties, and then they were kind of in no man's land on 4th and 11, too close to punt, too far to kick a field goal. So they went for it and didn't get it. But it sort of felt like, okay, no harm done. That actually jacked up the fans in the crowd. And so, but like, again, it just feels like in many, many recent years, we don't make that stop on 4th and 11. Right. And so that was huge. And then it was so funny. Like, it just felt like early on, it felt like, is this going to be one of those weird weather influenced 6-3 Big Ten games or something? It was so sloppy. I made note of this at the 4.5 minute mark in the first quarter. So not like super far into the game, but pretty well into the first quarter. On the broadcast, they showed a graphic, and it said at that point in the game, there had been 3 combined fumbles and 2 combined first downs in the game.
Riveting television.
Yeah. So it was just like, is this going to be one of those games? And then the Huskers immediately marched down the field. So we go 4 for 4 on 3rd downs on that drive, which was huge. Native Nebraskan Ty Hahn has a catch. True freshman Jaden Doss had a catch. I think Jalen Lloyd might have had a catch there. Another true freshman wide receiver. So it's great to see these true freshmen speedsters who we've heard a lot about getting integrated in the offense. I mean, it's been born of necessity with the injuries, but we need it, and they're coming through. And then right near the goal line, Harburg, aka William Wallace, had that huge 3rd and 6 pickup with his feet, got the first down, and then finished with that short flip to Thomas Fedoni to get the touchdown. So we go up 7-0. Again, another quick stop by the D. And then what do we see again? second week in a row, the option pass, the belly G option pass,
yeah, baby.
73 yarder to Jalen Lloyd. Charlie, if you're not totally caught up on all the episodes yet, first of all, get caught up. Second of all, we'll forgive you. But in the midseason review pod, Matty O called for the old school option pass because we had been seeing a lot of option at that point. We think Marcus Satterfield, Nebraska offensive coordinator, was listening. We have a hunch that Tom Osborne was listening as well, because he's the one. Coach Rhule said T.O. recommended the play. And so, you're welcome, Husker Nation. Matty O basically second week in a row, huge option pass. And that's such a quick hitter. That was the first play of that second scoring drive, if I'm not mistaken. And it's so demoralizing for the defense. And even it's so important for this offense, which is otherwise struggling for defenses to see, well, we at least have to count for that. We at least know they have guys who can get behind the defense, and they have these young speedsters. So I think that's really going to pay off. It doesn't just pay off in the moment. I think it's going to pay off down the road when other teams have to respect that pass.
Right. But the thing is, and the fans have to realize that there are a decent handful or two handfuls of option plays that we have to run to set that up. So when the people are grumbling that Harburg keeps it on an option and gets a yard, that's still like we're setting things up down the road, right? And another, I'm just gonna maybe call my shot here. I don't know who's gonna do it, but
oh boy,
we might have. I've seen it. Maybe I saw it once. I think against Purdue, and I don't really recall seeing it. Other than that, is that belly option where we just tuck it right into the fullback's stomach, and then carry out the option fake, and then he just like a Makovic or a Schlesinger type would just kind of roll off the lineman and scoot for 15-20 yards. So I would love to see that too. I don't know who's going to run that. I know that Bonner's been taking some snaps at fullback. Maybe he's the guy. But I would love to see that one now. So maybe
what I'd love to see?
T.O., Dr. Tom Osborne, we know you're listening. Coach Satterfield, we know you're listening as well. Let's dial up a fullback trap off of that option play.
What would be awesome? I'm going to get way ahead of myself for a minute, but all three Common fans already picked the Huskers. By the way, we should pat ourselves on the back again in the midseason review pod. All three of us picked the Huskers to win the next three. So we're 2 for 2 so far. I think we go into East Lansing. Mel Tucker's not going to be there. He's going to be busy on a phone call. So the Michigan State program is a total disaster.
Do they have a program anymore?
I think we're going to put a beat down on Michigan State. Maryland, after I think like a 5-0 start or something like that, is completely flailing. How awesome would it be the first time we bust out that fullback run, Matteo, preferably for a touchdown against Wisconsin at Camp Randall? Like, how insane would Husker fans be going if we see that?
It would be beautiful. It would be beautiful, TJ.
Oh.
And now, Charlie, you're older than all of us by quite a bit. You probably remember. you probably remember those fullbacks from the glory days. Do you not?
I do, and I always felt like Abe Lincoln ran the best fullback dive that we ever had at Nebraska. The thing that
how old are you?
I remember. That's not necessary, TJ. I remember though in the early 70s seeing Andra Franklin run the fullback. This guy was like pre-Earl Campbell. Like he was Earl Campbell before Earl Campbell. And Earl Campbell was this all-pro running back at a all-world in Texas and then Houston Oiler. But you talk about we've always had great fullbacks. Heck, Roger Craig started out as a fullback back in the day.
Yeah. So hold on. I just want to clarify something. Are you saying you remember seeing that personally in the early 70s or your father told you about it?
No, I absolutely was at those games unequivocally. Number 39, Andra Franklin, just wreaking havoc on linebackers.
God, I love that so much. And we've talked about that so many times on this pod. But more than anything, the emphasis on physical play, like it never gets old. And like you see the backbone of these championship teams, the great Alabama teams of recent years, the great Georgia teams. Yes, they have great athletes and they can throw the ball around the yard, but they play great defense. They're built on a power run game and they're built on physicality. And that's like the most exciting thing to me about Coach Rhule, is that those are going to be the bedrock foundations of the program. And when we clean up the turnover issues, when we get more playmakers on offense, it's only going to get more exciting. And Charlie's going to remember all these games he was at in the 50s, and he's going to be telling us about it. And it's just going to be unbelievable.
Hey, you know what I paid attention to the other day, TJ, by the way, you talked about this a couple minutes ago. We talked about swagger. So you know who I think we haven't had this, in my humble opinion, for a while, but I paid very close attention to Tommy Hill and Quentin Newsom.
Yes.
And when you've got DBs that have swagger and you are closing dudes out on the edge, it's great for your linebackers to have swagger. It's great for your O-line beast modes to have swagger. But when you got your DB dudes just shutting down, you got something pretty unique.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
God,
both those guys made big time plays yesterday.
Yep.
Tommy Hill is a dude.
Yeah. We talked about this earlier in the year. Like, he's one of those guys that, like, both coaching staffs have just raved about. And it's so awesome to see him now find his groove and start making plays. And he's been making a lot of them. Another thing we've talked about quite a bit is winning the last 4 minutes of the first half and the first 4 minutes of the second half. And the Huskers did that again yesterday. At the last 3:36 of the first half, Purdue had the ball. They were starting a drive at the 3:36 mark, didn't end up getting anything. And then to start the second half, we force a 3 and out. Everybody's excited. And then what do we do? Heinrich Harburg, who's a Husker hero, William Wallace, God bless him, immediately fumbles to turn it over. And so if you think about that, our first play of the game, first play of the first half, was a fumble to turn the ball over. And the first play of the second half was a fumble to turn the ball over. And Purdue didn't get any points out of either of those. And so first of all, on that second half one where Harburg fumbled, the defense makes a stop. We force a field goal try. And that's when you had the block field goal taken to the house by Quentin Newsom to put the Huskers up 21-0. And it really just that was the point already. We'd had a great first half. That was the point for me. Like, it felt like this is our day. Like, this is what we do to the Purdues of the world. And like, there's no way we're losing this game.
Yeah. And guys, like that, for some reason, I mean, the Husker fans in the Memorial Stadium, go nuts for touchdowns anyway, right? Just about any kind of touchdown. But there's something about a special teams touchdown that place absolutely goes bananas. Like, that just felt like a moment of elation where, oh my God, instead of costing us a game, our special teams is possibly helping us pull away in a game. And Charlie mentioned the swagger on those two guys. I mean, we got two swagged out DBs running down the sideline, high-fiving each other at the 10-yard line before he even gets into the end zone.
Yes.
Like,
man, that
part
was
of
awesome.
the 41-year-old dad part of me is like, what are you doing? Get in the damn end zone.
Yeah,
but then the part of me that's still a kid loves that stuff. It's like, that is so cool that they're doing that high-fiving at the 10-yard line. I love that.
It kind of reminded me of when you would play like Madden or NCAA football back in the day, and you would break free for a long run, and then you would get down to like the literal goal line, and then just to rub it in everybody's face, you would just run up and down the goal line back and forth. Like,
oh yeah,
like that's the kind of swagger that we had on that play. That was awesome.
Wait for him to catch up and then dive in. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, but that was outstanding. I rewatched it later too. And seeing that on TV, I think too, is like, it's a different thing. Cause you know what it's like when you're at the game, you know what it feels like to see them. I always kind of love watching the game, rewatching the game, or at least skipping through to the big plays and seeing how it looked on TV. Cause there's something cool about that to me. And these people are just losing their minds. I mean, there's people jumping up and down. It looks like people are hugging. It's just fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
So, Matteo, when you rewatched it, who did you think got a hand on that thing? Because I thought it might have been Tommy Hill coming around the edge, but I think it was Judy. actually.
Yeah,
16.
it was Elijah Judy. It looked like from where I was at, my seats are in North Stadium. It looked like Tommy came off the edge and got it. But it was definitely Judy. So yeah, no, that was just awesome. I love when the special teams can score. And we've kind of been saying it, like it'd be great if the defense could get a score, or if the special teams could get a score. I don't think we imagined to be a block field goal return for 6, but we'll take those every single day of the week and twice on Saturdays.
Absolutely. Another highlight was the Tristan Alvano, 55-yard field goal. And that's another kid who, true freshman. We know what he can do. He's got all the potential in the world. He kicked multiple, 40+ yard field goals in the state championship game, his last high school game of his career. Missed a few to start the year. I feel like a kid like that, you probably don't want to have to put into duty right away. But it feels like he's found his groove and hit several field goals recently. And that one was really impressive. And I loved Coach Rhule, had a big smile on his face after Alvano kicked that thing through from 55 yards. So I love the belief in the kid and sending him out there and giving him a chance to do it. And then you could see, I don't know if you could see it in the house, Maddie or Charlie, but you could definitely see it on TV. Alvano was pumped. Yeah. He was like super pumped. So like, hopefully that's so
was Rhule.
Yeah, Rhule. Yeah, it was fun to see Rhule. Rhule had a big smile on his face after that one.
Can I just say there's nothing better than just a bomb kick. Like there's big plays in games, but there is just something about a 50+ yarder field goal right down the middle that is just borderline erotic. I love it so much.
Well, there's something to be said about a coach too that has confidence in a kid to go out there and send him out there to attempt that kick in the first place, right? Because I'm sitting there like, oh God, we're probably gonna maybe take a delay game and try to pin him down there, and then I'm like, oh no, here comes Alvano, and I kind of got goosebumps. I'm like, oh, he's gonna give the true freshman a chance to hit a 55-yarder, and I loved that part from the beginning. Like even if he doesn't make it, like give the kid a shot.
Yeah.
And he delivered. He delivered big time.
All right, so I don't want to take us too far down to negative town, because on this podcast we celebrate.
Then don't, TJ. Then don't do it.
Shut your mouth, Jeff. on this pod, I love you, Jeff. I love you. I'm sorry.
Love you too. I'm sorry.
On this show, we celebrate all the W's, and this is absolutely a celebration pod. And it's a stepping stone to beat the second-rate bull junk programs that we're supposed to beat, and we're starting to get over that hump. So this is a celebration pod, but we've got to mention basically after the field goal, after the 24-0 lead, it felt like our day. It felt like we were going to run away. It felt like Purdue was going to go into its shell, and it was just kind of a mess for most of the rest of the second half. Unfortunately, let me flag for you guys a couple of things I really, really didn't like. Fourth quarter, Huskers have the ball. We are still up 24-0. About 12 and a half minutes left in the game. Okay. It's 2nd and 8. We call a play action pass. Harburg rolls to his right. Incomplete. 3rd and 8. We throw another pass. It's incomplete. We punt the ball. So like, in my opinion there, just run the ball 3 times. I don't care if you don't get a first down. Instead of punting with 12 minutes left, you're punting with 9.5, 10 minutes left. Right. That matters. That stuff matters, right? So then we do punt. Blackshirts, of course, make another stop. We get the ball back. First play of the next drive, we call another pass. Now that was the belly G option pass, which we all Matt Owens basically invented. And so that was, no. Okay. Well, Matt Owens called for and reminded T.O. of.
There we go.
And so like hard to argue with that. That was the one where Harburg didn't see, at least that's what it looked like on TV. He didn't see the defender until it was too late, and he got blown up. Yeah. So then it was like 2nd and 17. And then we fumble on the next play, and not excusing the fumble, but then Purdue went down and scored with about 9 minutes left at that point. So they score, they go for 2 and don't get it. So it's 24-6. But like, instead of like, just again, and you don't even put yourself in that situation. If you just do 3 boring handoffs, hope that you get or option. It doesn't have to be super boring. You can run the option, you can do whatever, but hope that you get, try to get first downs, of course, but at the very least, you should do no harm there and take 2 to 3 minutes off the clock at a bare minimum. And just I just don't understand with a 24-0 lead, calling all those passes. And then that stuff matters. It matters even more when then we put Jeff Sims in. It's 24-6. We're still feeling good about ourselves. And he gets the ball stripped from him. And I know, look, we gave Sims a hard time at the beginning. A lot of these guys had fumble issues yesterday, and that was a great play by the defender. I mean, he ripped it out from Sims, but they take it to the house. They get the 2-point conversion, and suddenly it's 24-14, and there's 6:24 left. Now, credit to what they did to have a 10-point lead at that point, but Husker fans of recent years know all too well that's plenty of time for things to fall apart. And it just felt like it didn't have to get to that point.
Right.
Even if all of those things were going to happen the same way, it could have been with 2 minutes left instead of 6 minutes.
Go back to that play that Sims got stripped on was 4th and 1, was it not? And were we or were we not?
Oh, that was the other thing. That was the other thing.
In shotgun on 4th and 1. And we did it in the first half too. We were on the 1 yard line. We went shotgun 2 times in a row.
That was the
weird. We went shotgun, and then Harburg runs in. I'm like, that's a 6'5", 230-pound guy. Go under center and they've done well at sneaking the ball this year. Like, why are you going in shotgun? And we end up scoring. He threw that little flare out to Fedone for the first touchdown. But I cannot understand, and I don't get why coaches will do. And it's not just us. I see it all over. I'm watching a lot of college football. A lot of coaches do that. And I don't know if it's exchange issues with going under center. They don't do it as often or what it is, but I cannot say. You're giving the defense a head start.
Are there stats behind that? Because I'd be curious as to find out why it makes more sense on 4th and 1 to just say, all right, well, we're going to go up for it on 4th. Basically, you're going for it on 4th and 5 because I don't understand that.
That was the weird one where it's 4th and 1. We line up and try to get them to jump. They don't jump, and we're content to take the delay of game penalty because we're going to punt. So they move it back. It's 4th and 6. Then we do a long count on the punt, and the guy jumps. So then it's 4th and 1 again. And then we decide to go for it. And Rhule said after the game, he wishes he could have that one back. And if he could do it again, he would have punted. And I think I don't think these kind of game management miscues have been too much. I think Rhule is the best game manager we've seen at Nebraska in a long time. So I'm not.
Did they show on TV Rhule's reaction when the guy jumped at 4th and 1?
Oh man, I'm trying to remember, Charlie. I don't remember.
Okay, so here's why I asked. So their guy jumps, and our right tackle or our center, right?
That was the
center
first 4th and 1. That was the first 4th and 1. Yes, yeah. Yep.
And Coach Rhule comes unhinged because it worked. We just our guys just were in the moment, didn't move, didn't snap, didn't whatever. It would have worked.
Yep.
But it was pretty obvious. Whatever we were trying there would have worked if we could have just pulled it off.
Yep.
Yeah, and I don't know, as long as the defender there doesn't touch anyone, if he gets back before the ball snapped, he's fine, right? I mean, isn't that right? Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe that was I don't know. That was just kind of a weird series of events. Again, we'll give Rhule a little bit of a break on that one. I think again, back to just taking as much time off the clock as possible, punt it, pin them back, make them try to do something desperate, make them try to throw it to get down the field, make them take more time to get down the field. And at that point, it's still 24-6. Just punt the ball. And again, he said after the game he wishes he would have. So, we'll give them a little bit of a break there. So go ahead, Jeff.
Can I ask a question? So
you may not.
I'm going to make a statement then, but it's going to be in the form of a question. Why was Sims in? That's one question I have. Was there an injury there, or why was he in the game?
I think because Harburg's just taking
because he took that hit.
He took that.
He actually went to the tent too, you guys.
He did.
He immediately, So he got blown up by that defensive end when he was rolling to the right.
Yep.
And then the next play gets smoked again and fumbles. Went off to the sideline, kind of tried to compose himself, took a knee.
All right.
Stood back up, and they immediately took him back to the tent.
Oh,
So right away,
I didn't realize any of that.
See, that is
Oh,
that's
yeah.
the one thing I did not know, and I was very curious about is because
Oh
I
yeah. So
thought
that was
we were
the thing. Yeah, that was the thing that I saw too, Jeff. Like people online were like, "Why is Sims going in? What's happening? Like, why in the world did you put him in the game?" Harvard was in the tent, man. There was no way he was coming back out. So he went in the tent, and immediately Sims started getting loose and stretching and running on the sideline.
Interesting. Interesting.
That's
Well,
good.
huge credit to the Huskers for putting the clamps on, recovering multiple onside kicks. And then, I mean, that last drive, when it was 24-14, we recover the onside kick. Then it was like, we got, it was like, okay, let's go, let's get serious. Let's go down and win this game. We forced Purdue to, we just steady diet of Emmett Johnson, who looks great, by the way.
Yep.
And we kept getting first downs, and then Johnson busted that touchdown run right at the end to put the exclamation point on it. And so again, I know we've beat this horse probably dead. Husker teams of recent years just haven't won those games. Right?
Correct.
I mean, how many times have we, how many times did we see it where it was like, okay, well, 15 different things still have to go right or go wrong for us to lose this game. Like, okay, that was like after the fumble and the Sims fumble, they housed it, 2-point conversion is 24-14. That was the point in recent years where we say, well, look, we still have a 10-point lead. They still have to score twice. It's the fourth quarter. Like, there's like 12 different things that would have to go wrong for us to still lose this game. And in recent years, it felt like they always did go wrong, and we did lose those games. And yesterday it was like it's starting to get to the point where in these games now you almost breathe easier and you say, you know what, they're not going to do that. They're not like this is a different team. This is a different mentality. I think Rhule has addressed this sort of mental mindset stuff head on. And the things that he's emphasized, physicality and running game, are the things that you lean on late in the game. And so that's what's resulting in these wins. And just super exciting win. I want to move on to a couple highlights quick and discussion topics, guys, but anything to put a cap on the sort of game summary discussion.
No,
I think you said it nicely, Tej. Just beautiful.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Thank you. All right, boys, we've talked about it a little bit, but I cannot praise this defense enough. Coach Rhule, pay Tony White his money, keep that man in Lincoln. Yesterday was the first time since 2012 that the Blackshirts have held an opponent to less than 100 yards passing and 100 yards rushing. Just outstanding. Not even 2 total yards. Currently sitting at 13th nationally in total defense. Nationally, we're also 6th in rushing defense, 21st in scoring defense, 17th in sacks. I cannot get enough of this defense. Put it in my veins, guys. Like, I love reading these national stats. In the old days, even like after like the glory days, but when we were still good and still regularly in the top 25. So like the Solich and Pelini days in particular, I used to love to go to like Husker Max and read the opponent news sources and like read about how, the Huskers were just too much for our boys, or like the Huskers beat up on our boys. And this is a vaunted historic program and we just couldn't overcome it. And like, it's just been so long since like we've had that feeling and that vibe. And now having this nationally ranked defense and this outstanding defense, it's just so damn exciting.
sure is, TJ.
It is exciting.
Thank you, Matthew.
I touched on it. I touched on it earlier. It's like that. There's just a certain, and Charlie said the word swagger. You can throw out all the adjectives you want for this defense. But the thing that I like is, and I think somewhere we discussed this. I think maybe it was you, TJ, or one of our buddies on one of our text threads about how young the defense is. And so that part is outstanding. I think it's Quentin Newsome and one of the other DBs, I think, are the only seniors, right? There's only like 2 seniors on that core starting defense.
Funny you mentioned that, Matthew. Sorry, go ahead. I've got some information on that front. Were you making a broader point there, or more of a point?
No. I just think that's outstanding. It's really exciting. So again, so much confidence when that defense is coming out on the field. I mean, they even showed it at Illinois. We're down on the 1 yard line and they had that goal line stand. So I feel comfortable if it comes down to the end of the game and it's our defense having to make a stop for us to win. I feel comfortable with that.
Yeah. And if you want a comparison, it almost reminds me of the Notre Dame defense from 2012 with Manti Te'o. Like, they were so good and Notre Dame's offense was so bad. What?
Jeff,
I'm making a comparison. Don't you dare. Don't you dare. Don't you dare say that to me.
Jeff, you know the rules. We don't discuss the Irish at the table.
We don't discuss the Irish at the table, Jeff.
Right,
come on, Jeffrey. To your point, Mattio, there are no seniors on the D line. The Polar Bear and Ty Robinson are both juniors. I could see a scenario where both of those guys at least dips their toe in the water for the NFL. So that would be a little bit of a concern. But man, hopefully they come back a la Jason Peter and Grant Wistrom to really play for something next year. There's no seniors at outside linebacker, and MJ Sherman is the only junior. There's only one senior at inside linebacker. That's Luke Reimer. And God bless that warrior. We're going to miss him. And there are 3 juniors there. So at inside linebacker, Henrich Snodgrass and John Bullock are juniors. I would assume all 3 of those guys will be back, but we're lacking much depth behind them. I think there's 2 sophomores and that's it. So probably something we want to address via, sort of high school recruits and the portal as well. Matt, you got your hand up. You want to say something?
Yeah, I just think one of the other things that I like, and I think we mentioned it briefly over one of the last episodes, but the amount of guys that they play in this defense, which I think will pay huge dividends. That Makai Bayer, I keep want to say Gabayer because it starts with a G. Makai's been putting in good minutes. Javen Wright, I think he's plays Gifford's spot, so he comes in once in a while, and he's a good athlete. They've got all these guys that are getting playing time, getting a series or 2. That stuff's going to be huge down the road.
No doubt. There's no further to the point. There's no senior safeties, and at cornerback, Newsome and Omar Brown are both seniors. So losing those will be significant losses. And Newsome has just been a stalwart. Gosh, I remember when did Frost reel him in, or does that go? I mean, that can't go back to Riley, right?
No, he's a Frost.
Frost.
Yeah. With the COVID year, guys are playing like 17 years in college now. But yeah, I remember when Frost got him, and he has been. I mean, I think he's been a starter for a long time, since freshman or sophomore year. And Omar Brown has been great. So we'll have to replace those guys. But I mean, you look at this defense and the havoc that they're wreaking and how well they're playing, and the fact that we can cover the seniors we do lose, anybody we do lose in easier than ever, quicker than ever with the transfer portal. Man, the biggest thing to me is we got to keep Tony White. And I know the guy wants to be a head coach. We need to prepare ourselves that he's probably not sticking around forever. But man, if they could keep him for a couple more years, really get this foundation in place, that would be so huge.
Yeah, and at least
how about when's the last time that we had guys coming off the edge just beating tackles?
Oh, so good.
Like just beating tackles. Lenhart, and then who's the kid that was on special teams like 3 weeks ago, and they liked the way they liked his speed off the Williams kid, number 90, James Williams.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like you guys, if you want to, for me, if I'm taking a real deep dive into the coaching component, you got a kid that's on the scout team, right? Like when I was coaching in baseball in college, when you got a guy on the scout team, like he's kind of on the scout team. But all of a sudden, clearly these coaches are like, this guy might give us an advantage some way, shape, or form. And 2-3 weeks later, last week he had 2 sacks, I think. This week he's beating his guy. He's in there in the 3rd and 4th quarter. Like that speaks volumes to me of the message that is being sent to these guys that are down on the roster. Like, hey, next man up. Like we got dudes that are hurt. If you want to be a dude, like step up and practice hard. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, no, that's such a good point, Charlie. You clearly haven't been listening because we talked about that last week. But no, that I completely agree. Like I feel like how many times have we heard about a guy that's flashing or popping on the practice squad, and then you never see him. It's like, well, let's give this guy a chance. And then to your earlier point, Charlie, I mean, it feels like forever that we've been watching a Nebraska defense and nobody gets home. Nobody gets to the quarterback. And it's such a huge difference to have multiple guys be able to get to the quarterback and to be in the top 25 in sacks. It's so huge. And I think that's been such a big difference. I think it's complemented by how good the secondary has been as well. Just huge props to the defense. And I think they're the reason why we're 5-3.
Absolutely.
And I might also humbly suggest, like, I think, like, you look at kind of an ugly win against Northwestern, you look at a couple ugly wins, even the non Big Ten teams that we won against, the defense really won those games for us. Maybe that just bought us time to start believing as an entire team, right? And this offense is going to be what it is, and it's going to be frustrating, and there's going to be more hat throw moments. And this is, we're not going to figure all this stuff out this year on the turnovers and the offense and whatever. But like, this team is really starting to believe now. And we've got, suddenly Michigan State is like worse than we even thought a few weeks ago, I think. Maryland just had back-to-back losses to Illinois and Northwestern.
Yes.
Wisconsin doesn't look like the world beaters they've been in recent years. Like, suddenly the West being in conversation is not just Kool-Aid drinking, right? This is for real. And this defense can play with anybody. And I don't know if you guys, I should have looked I didn't look this up. Poor preparation on my part, but I just remember watching that Wisconsin Purdue game. It was on a Friday night. Like, Purdue put up some points on the Badgers. Like, Purdue scored, Purdue's like, they couldn't do their offense couldn't do anything against us.
Right.
So, like, you think about it that way, we're going to be in every single one of these games that we have left. And, this is probably a good time to share a stat with common fans. Iowa's offense is still dead last in the nation at 133rd. And so, like, we're going to be in these games. We're playing for the West, guys. And I know, like, our message this year has been that making a bowl game is step one, and that's the threshold. And I will say it again: if for whatever reason we only win one out of the next four, we end 6-6. That's still a smashing success for a year one head coach inheriting a program that hasn't been a bowl game in 2016. Absolutely. But this conversation about the West is getting more and more real every day. And yeah, we've had a lot of injuries on the offense, but the defense is looking as spry as ever, boys.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this, TJ. We have talked a couple of times about, asking the question, maybe a little tongue in cheek. Do we really want to win the West? Does anybody really want to win the West and go to Indy and just get housed by Michigan or Ohio State? Has your line of thinking changed at all? Have you, because you said initially, you kind of said, let's finish second and don't want to go play.
I did say that. It has changed, to be honest with you. Part of it was you guys in that moment kind of talked me into what a terrible thing had just come out of my mouth. But honestly, man, I think the point that you made that resonated, Matt, was like, there's a reason you play the games. And like, you never know. Yeah, the Michigan thing kind of fell apart. We didn't have a lot of belief going into that game. They made and the Michigan Astros are big time cheaters. That's a whole separate pod. We're not gonna, this is the pretty recap. We're not gonna have time to get in that. We're gonna address the Michigan Astros on an upcoming pod very soon. Complete and total cheaters. But like, I feel like we're already a different team from that game. So whether we would go into Indianapolis playing Michigan, playing Ohio State, playing Penn State, no, we're not going to be favored. But like, the defense can play with anybody. I truly believe that. And you get a couple of breaks. You just never know what happens. So my thinking has completely changed on that. And I think you guys both made some really good points in that when we had that conversation. The other one was, let's say we do go there. Let's say we get to Indy and we get beat down. Like, Coach Rhule in year one, like, that's a smashing success. And that's something to sell to recruits, and that's something to sell to the fan base. And that's like, and then you're still going to a great bowl game. Like, yes, we want to get to Indy. We want to win the West. Absolutely.
Well, if there was such a thing as like a live tracker for Big Ten Coach of the Year, Rhule's got to be the front runner right now, right?
Well,
I mean, who else in the Big Ten can you think of like, wow, he's really getting a lot out of his team?
I was going to say, Matt, is that they even mentioned that during the game. They're like, I mean, if you look at Nebraska's record right now, the potential for what we could have by the end of the season, they're like, this typically isn't Matt Rhule's forte. Usually he has a slow start,
Right.
work it out type of first year. So if he can get us to a bowl game in the first year, if not better than that, and have a 7, 8, even I dare to say it, 9-win season, you're damn right he should probably be in the top ranks for Big Ten coach there, in my opinion, for
I mean,
sure.
look, if we get to Indy, to me, it's not close. Like if we
No.
get if we won the West, forget about it.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
I'm curious. Does anybody? I'm gonna look this up really quick. Basically, let's say we beat Michigan State, we beat Maryland, right? And so then, even in that instance, if Iowa keeps winning, if Wisconsin keeps winning, we at least control our destiny with those two.
Well,
right?
Minnesota's got to lose.
That's right. I know. That's where I was going with
we-
this. So I'm looking up Minnesota's schedule, and
It's
they
not-
they will.
Matthew, they have to play number 3 Ohio State on November 18th.
That snake oil salesman Fleck. He'll go down. He'll go down.
And I mean, and they end with Wisconsin, which is a rivalry game, which is no guarantee.
That's going to be. I mean, they're gonna beat up each other. And to me, that game's a toss up. Wisconsin, Minnesota.
Yeah, definitely.
And Minnesota's got to go to Purdue. Not next weekend, but the weekend after that. I wouldn't put it past Purdue to all of a sudden step up and play well enough to beat Minnesota. Even though Purdue's 2-6, Purdue. I heard this earlier in the week before the Purdue game. They have played all Power 5 teams. They have not played a Sun Belt team. They have not played a Conference USA team. Sorry, they had one, and the only non-Power 5 team they played was Fresno State. Fresno State. I've been calling Frez yes all year because Fresno State is a pretty good ball club. And they play hard down out there in the valley. So Fresno State basically could be in the Pac-12. They're good enough to be a Pac-12 team, honestly. Maybe bottom of the barrel Pac-12, the way as good as the Pac-12 is this year. But Purdue has not played a cupcake, is my point. So they're better than the 2-6. And a lot of people are going to say, "Oh, Nebraska hasn't beat anybody." Well, I mean, Purdue hasn't done great, but they're 2-6. But they played a tough schedule.
I think we win out. I would put money right now that we're in Indy. I think there's a scenario where even if we go, what do we have? Do we have 5 left? What are we? We're 5. We have 5 games.
4.
We're 5-3. That equals 8. I don't do math. So even if we go 3-1, I think there's an outside chance. Just with the way the Big Ten has been. We beat up on Illinois and they turn around and get who did they beat? Why am I blanking on this? And then we beat up on Northwestern. Oh, Illinois beat Maryland, and then we beat up on Northwestern, and they turn around and beat Maryland. So you just never know in this league. So even at 3-1, I feel like there's a chance we get to Indy again, guys. I'd love to see us in Indy. I'd love to see us win in the West the last year of its existence. Don't get me wrong. I'm gonna be so daggum excited when we punch that 6th win. And I firmly believe it's going to be next. I firmly believe it's going to be next week.
Yeah,
but
we all picked it.
That's just
you and every travel agency in Nebraska.
Exactly.
That contingent, you got people that they've been saving since 2016 to go to a bowl game. It's going to be droves of humanity.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. All right. We're going to pivot here a little bit to some family business here. And we're going to common fan guest tonight, Charlie Colon, put out a tweet into the stratosphere yesterday that got a ton of engagement. Honestly, a lot of thoughtful responses. I felt like from all sides of the debate. So we wanted to address this head on. I think it's of interest to the fan base, and I know people have a lot of strong opinions on it. Here was Charlie's tweet. Quote, "We are 4-3, going for a W today and 1 game away from being bowl eligible. Yes, it's chilly, but we are Nebraskans. Should I expect us to do better in supporting our Huskers? Best fans in college football, right? Talk to me." End quote. So, and Charlie, the way you worded that, it wasn't like, I wouldn't call that a big time call out. I thought it was like a conversation starter, right?
Yeah.
And at least I think we've had, we've seen a bunch of engagement into today. Last I checked before we started recording this, there were 187 likes on your tweet, 27 replies. I would guess, without doing a scientific analysis of the engagement, that the majority of folks were in agreement with you. Former Husker Luke Gifford was in agreement with you, along with several others. But there were some interesting responses as well, responding to you, Charlie, about how cold it was, about, hey, the product on the field hasn't been good for years. Fans can't be expected to keep coming back to this. Stadium needs to be upgraded and renovated, which we all know the athletic department is doing something about. Just some different responses. So I wanted to bring this, let's have a family meeting about this. Wanted to bring this to the common fans. Charlie, man, you put it out there. I want to put it to you. I mean, first of all, let's start here. What were you seeing inside the stadium that led you to think this? Because one thing that multiple people tweeted was they responded to you was that, well, it was right before halftime. Everyone's going to the bathroom. They're getting a refill on their popcorn. They're getting a second runza, whatever it is. But you're a pretty smart guy, Charlie. I'm guessing you wouldn't have sent that. Like you're aware when people are going to the bathroom at halftime. Like I'm guessing you saw something more than just people taking a halftime break.
Yeah. So I literally just posed the question. Like, I'm not a guy on social media I'm not throwing hosel rockets out there to poke the bear. Like most of the time, I just want to have a conversation. And that's why I said, talk to me. Like, I'm interested to see if my old school needs to get to new school and have my perceptions change or shift a little bit. By the way, 32 text messages directly to me because of that, the topic. 32 different people. Like, wow. Hey, let's talk. I'm interested. I'm with you. Like, yada, yada, yada. Okay. So
I didn't know you knew 32 people. That's impressive.
It's a fair question. We'll get back to it. Right. So here's what's fascinating to me. Just a couple points to kind of set the stage. One is I've been going for a long time. Like, I'm fascinated by Husker fans as a Husker fan. Not only do we consistently show up, we cheer for the opponent, win or lose. We welcome them to the stadium. And let's call a spade a spade. For the last 20 years, we've still been coming. Right? That is amazing to me. There is no other program on the planet that would have that happen. Mm-hmm. But I think what we've all seen the last 5 to 7 years, the student section has certainly waned.
Yep.
And yesterday, in one full section, there was literally nobody. Mm-hmm. So the reason I sent it is, as I'm in the North Stadium looking, normally you see people shoulder to shoulder and it's packed, right? My humble assessment, and I'm sitting next to a guy who is an architect who's done work at stadiums. We'll leave it at that. And I said, how many empty seats do you think there are today in Memorial Stadium? Which got me thinking, because I said, look up, I can't believe it. You always assume they're going to show. He goes, I would bet 25,000. To which I was like, wait, what? So then you look up in the East balcony, sparse. West Stadium, not shoulder to shoulder. North Stadium, not shoulder to shoulder. The number of people selling or giving away tickets before the game, I personally had never seen anything like it. Now, I will say that under this premise, you guys, like, we're tough people. Like, we're Nebraskans. I watch NFL football games in Buffalo, New York when it's snowing. The place is jammed, right? So if we came, my thought was, if we came the last 20 years when we were average to subpar and showed up, like, why in the world today when it's 30? I get it, it's chilly. Like, I had 4 layers on too, man. I had all my gear with me. But if we are at the point where now we're 4-3, we're punching the door to a bowl game, like, what was different yesterday? And so I really just asked the question to say, like, what am I missing? Like, we are the best fans in college football. I will believe that until the day that I die. But I think we're on the verge of something unique here because am I coach? Do I love Coach Rhule? I love Coach Rhule. I've totally drank the Rhule. I'm all in. But I think bigger than that is just who we are as a fan base. And we have set a very high bar up until this point. And yesterday I was just confused. I'm going to be honest with you. So that's why I sent the tweet. I just wanted to have a discussion.
Yeah. And Charlie, I actually took a video. My son likes to go. My son will go to every single game if it works. But he likes to go in. He likes to literally get in the stadium an hour early to watch the guys warm up. He likes to see which players are out there, who's got in line in the depth chart, what drills they're doing. And you know what? I'll do it for him because I remember my dad taking me to games and we did the same thing. But it got down to it was about 25 minutes on the clock until kickoff. And I took a video and I sent it to Jeff and TJ. And I said, God, this is going to be interesting. It's 25 minutes to kickoff. And the stadium is probably not even half full. And I'm like, this is going to be really interesting. I said, I'll keep you guys updated. And really, I would say probably 20,000 more people came in from that moment until kickoff. But it was obvious to me that I would say there was probably 70,000 there, maybe 75, but there was not the announced attendance that they said. And we've known that for years. Every time they say, well, yeah, that's the tickets sold, whatever. But I was saying kind of the same thing, Charlie, to these guys a day or two ago. It was like, you know what, if we whine and we complain, our team's bad, our coaches are bad, this stuff, we don't have enough talent. And now we're having a decent season. We went undefeated in October. Okay. And to me, it's like, you don't have the right to complain if you had a ticket and you sold it or gave it away. If you're saying it's too expensive, I saw somebody post on SeatGeek yesterday morning. There was tickets for like $5-6. So the too expensive thing doesn't work. I just, and I'm not one of those people that says everybody's going soft, but dang it, yesterday it sure felt like it. And
Yeah.
When I was a student down there, I had student tickets. There's no way I was missing a game. I don't care what the temperature was. I don't care if there was a hurricane. They're gonna have to kick us out of there. So I don't know what that is. And I really appreciate, I thought your tweet was super timely, especially since we were talking about it. And I'm super pumped to hear it, be able to hear your take on it, since you're the one that sent it out there. And I wholeheartedly, completely agree with you. And I think we're coming from the same place of like, what more do we want? Right.
Mm-hmm.
We've been clamoring for a winning team for 7 years, just a winning team, a winning record. And then we've got a winning record. We need 2 wins to be bowl eligible, and we can't show up.
Yeah.
So.
I'll come at from a different perspective. And I looked at some of the replies on your tweet too, Charlie. And one of them I noticed is, one, technology has just expanded over the years. And the number one thing I saw in there is that stadium experiences do not outweigh the experience you can have in your home now. It's warm, it's comfortable. You can get up, you can grab a beer. You have high definition television right in your face now. But I still don't buy that as an excuse. But what I do kind of think is something that's, when we talk about student section, those kids, they weren't alive when the Huskers were good. We're that far removed that some of those kids just, they don't get it. They don't know what it was like. And I sound really old when I'm saying that, but they just don't understand it. I hate to be that guy, but they just don't get it. And maybe if we can get back to where we were, we will fill that spot up again. But I think right now those kids are so used to the Nebraska that we've had over the last decade that they just don't care. And it's going to take more than one season to bring those kids back. We're going to have to continuously keep grinding this out, which I think that we will do.
And I think I want to say they're all bad, because the student section right next to the band, that was pretty packed. Right. Mm-hmm. Like 45 minutes before the game, I'm like, well, those kids are all there, but
and every home game, those students show up. They're incredible.
Yeah.
They are incredible.
It's the South Stadium student section that, when situations like that, that's going to be the top of that part up there is going to be the first place to clear out too.
Yeah.
We just need more fireball shooters up in that area. That's all we need.
Just set up, Jeff. I'm going to put this to you, Jeff. You smuggle in a couple of those buckets, those fireball buckets. You can get them. I've seen them at Casey's General Stores. Take a few of those buckets out there, and those kids will probably pay a decent amount of money for one of those. You could probably
top dollar,
or maybe even more. So
pass them out for free. Yeah,
either that or we need to give them a Be Our Guest card for a free chicken sandwich or something. Right?
There you go. There you go.
I'll be
Charlie,
walking up and down the aisle there. Just get your fireball shooters and Chick-fil-A sandwiches here. Just chucking them, just throwing them at people.
Charlie, do you know anyone who could help with that, with the chicken sandwich thing?
There's some things we're working.
Yeah.
We're working.
By the way, is Chick-fil-A being sold in the stadium? Is that coming?
Mm-hmm. No, there's a lot to that, Matt. I mean, we sold inside of the stadium for the first time during volleyball day.
Nice.
And that was, obviously a special circumstance. It was a Wednesday. There was going to be some challenges very similar to the Garth Brooks concert in terms of concession help, availability of product, length of time people were going to be at the venue. So many different factors. And so we ended up bringing that Chick-fil-A mobile kitchen to town, right? But inside the stadium for football, we're not in a bunch of venues around the country at this point. I mean, I think one of the fun things about Memorial Stadium that Trev and some others are working on is how do you make that thing work other than 7 times a year for home games?
Yeah.
Whether that's concerts, whether that's volleyball, whether it's pro soccer. I mean, listen, you guys could devote a podcast just on ideas of how you make that thing work. But I think music is a big one. I think that's a no-brainer at some point in time to figure out how you get a handful of concerts in that place every year. And if you look at the stadium renovation, that the South Stadium that has the cover over the top of it, I mean, you can only surmise that that's part of the reasoning around it, right? But lots of things happening on that front. I do think I'm with you, Jeff. Unequivocally, technology has changed the game, and that is such a fair. I can remember my guys, back in the 1800s when these games weren't televised, TJ. But when you saw the Huskers on TV once or twice a year, it was awesome, right? But now it's every game, and everybody's got a TV with an incredible picture, and it is a comfort. However, right, what we know and was very evident less than a couple months ago, volleyball day in America, right? That place was rocking. I would go so far as to even say a week ago with the weather for that home game. And I gauge it by 2 things, you guys. I knew it was going to be weird this week. We got down there at 8:30 to set up our Chick-fil-A trailer, get kind of everything set up. And I could tell in that horseshoe lot, there were maybe 3 cars. Mm-hmm. For a 2:30 game. Like that's never the case, right?
Yeah, that's
never
crazy.
The case.
Yep.
So that's one. The second thing is the tunnel walk. I can tell the quality of the crowd, the intensity of the crowd. I'm talking about the Unity walk. Excuse me, outside of the stadium. When you get fans that have packed that entranceway and the buses pull in and they're just losing their mind. There was, you could have walked right up to the front yesterday. So you could just kind of tell. The last way that I can tell is how our inventory goes when we are selling. Last week, we could have started we normally start selling about 11:15 for a 2:30 game. Windows up, man, here come people. Here they come, right? It's just a constant barrage of people. The Unity walk happens, and then really the economy of scale hits, and that's when your sales really burst. You guys, I think we sold as much yesterday between 1:45 and 2:30 as we did between 11 and 1:45, and then we sold the same amount at halftime. Not because people were coming out to get warm, they were heading home. Right. So the people that went out to get home, if you looked at the stadium, I sent that tweet, phones blowing up, having all kinds of fun conversations. But honest to gosh, I bet only a third of them came back after halftime. And so that's the hard part for me is like, we are gritty. Listen, if we die, we die, right? Like,
right.
It's that Matt Rhule thing. Like our fan base is that gritty. I believe that, like with my heart. I think we need to find our grit, right?
Yeah.
I think our team has found their grit. I think they have found their resilience. You guys, I watch those dadgum Coach Rhule post-game, pre-game locker room speeches on Monday just to get me worked up to go sell chicken, right? Like, this guy's a dude. But I think we got to get our grit back. We got to get our swagger back as fans a little bit now. I think it's on us to kind of go, hey, we are Nebraska. We're going to own that we're the best fans in college football, and we're going to bring it back to the table again. Because I think, we could probably do a little bit better. Do I agree with all of the things that people said? I do. The one thing that I loved about that whole tweet, 99.99% of all of those were respectful. It's who our fans are, right?
Absolutely.
We're just having a conversation. I wasn't saying I was right. I wasn't saying they were wrong. I love conversations like that because I think it, again, highlights who we are, who we've been, and who we will be in the coming future. And I think that's a big part of what our program is, and exactly why you have recruits that pay very close attention to our fan base and our program.
I think you're right. And I think we have to acknowledge that there is an impact from years of losing. And even with that, like, we have continued to show up, to your point, Charlie, and a point we've made. But I do think there's an impact. The fan base is a little bit beat down. And there is, like, where it used to be like, holy cow, like I got a ticket this weekend. That used to be like the thing to do on a home football Saturday. And now it's like, well, maybe I'll go, maybe I won't, kind of thing. And again, I don't think that speaks for the vast majority of fans, but that sentiment has crept in a little bit, I think, to the fan base. And I think I might contradict myself here. Like, we can acknowledge that is true. And it was cold and windy yesterday. And then some of these other issues that we're talking about are not unique to Nebraska. Professional sports teams and universities all over the country are trying to figure out how to deal with this. Every game is on TV. You can go, you got it on your phone and you got it on TV at home, or you can go to a sports bar and have 50 games on TV, and you can be surrounded by your friends and go to your own clean bathroom and get your cold beer out of your fridge. Like, everybody's dealing with that. Right. And every program is trying to keep people to keep coming to the games. These student issues are certainly not unique to Nebraska. Mm-hmm. And then we know, like, they're doing a $450 million renovation. Charlie, you and I spoke yesterday briefly after the game. Like, most places you go now, you get your own seat. You don't sit on a metal bench. Metal bench that is scalding hot when it's hot out and freezing cold when it's cold out, right? So all of those things are true. But where I come down, again, maybe it's just a little bit of a old man, get off my lawn kind of thing. Can we say all these things are true and at the same time say, look, we need to have a family meeting and say that it's not good enough, or say when it's not good enough? How about that?
Right.
Because I would say most of the time, like, Husker fans, we're not saying that this has been a lingering problem, or that, like, we're not MacGyvering the sellout streak, right? I mean, I know, yes, we don't always have 86,000 people in the stadium, but more often than not, we do fill the thing up, right? And so I think it's just one of those things, Charlie, like you just put it so eloquently. It's a conversation and people are respectful about it. But I think where I come down is, like, it's just like part of the reason Nebraska is great is because we have fans who do things like have podcasts and sit around and have these conversations, on Sunday night after games, right? And we're taking it so seriously. But that's why Nebraska is so great, right? Just like the standard is the standards for championship teams, the standard is the standard. This is how we win again, by continuing to show up at the Old Gray Lady and continuing to fill that thing up. And so I really appreciate you putting it out there, Charlie. And I don't think, like, I would go so far as to say yesterday was more of a rarity than not. I think the weather probably had a lot to do with that. And I think, as you were saying, Jeff, as the program continues to get better, you're going to see more and more students showing up. It's going to be a harder and harder ticket to get. I don't think we're that far off from that, guys.
No. The one thing I would say is, with you, Charlie, and I've gotten comfortable speaking with you, so I'll just be candid. You're selling your delicious chicken sandwiches outside of the stadium. That might be some of the drawback and why people are leaving, because people clearly want to eat a delicious chicken sandwich over a beef and cabbage hot pocket. Am I right here?
Why not?
Listen,
why
we're
not
giving
both,
it a go,
Jeff? Why
brother.
not both?
Yeah, why not jump both, Jeff?
Absolutely.
So Jeff, hold on.
But
Let me
and to that point, Jeff, I got to be honest with you. I will promise you at some point in time this week, I will host you at my place, and we will let you sample multiple chicken sandwiches, namely one right now that is the honey pepper pimento. That I literally, when I say, I'm telling you, my mouth. Come down. I'll take good care of you.
I
Those
just
damn
had that one,
delicious
Charlie.
chicken
It's so
sandwiches.
good.
Oh.
That one is so good. Hold on, Jeff. I just want to understand something here, and then we'll wrap up. So you have like a visceral hatred of potlucks, but you have no problem walking out and buying a chicken sandwich from a stand selling chicken sandwich. You have no idea.
No.
You know,
Because you know why, TJ? I'll give you one phrase right here. Food handlers permits. That's why I enjoy eating from a professional establishment.
Well, and we do know Charlie and the team are nothing but pros over at Chick-fil-A. So everyone swing through the one at South Point. Charlie, I just call it the pimento one. That one is so good. What's it called again? Tell the
honey pepper pimento. Yeah,
it's so good.
So 2 pickles, breaded chicken, dollop of our own pimento cheese, couple jalapenos. Sorry, not pickles, jalapenos. I got that wrong. 3 jalapenos, chicken, dollop of pimento cheese, and then a little bit of just sweet honey on top. So you get the honey, you get the sweet, the salty, and a little spicy. Goodness gracious.
Sounds so damn good.
Honey hush. I'm going to have that tomorrow morning right when I go to
the other thing is Chick-fil-A has figured out is the combination of whether it's the sandwich or the nuggets, just the standard, like the basic chicken, right? The traditional standard sandwich with the Chick-fil-A sauce. Like, I don't know what it is. That's like the perfect combination. It's like crack. I mean, literally, I've ordered like 2 or 3 sandwiches for one meal for myself when I'm super hungry. Like I can't get enough. All right, I'm sorry. We've blown enough smoke up Charlie's behind here. It's all true though. All right, guys, I want to wrap up. We're going to give out our corn cobs. Before we do that, I just wanted to share this quote I found from Coach Rhule from yesterday, that if we're not ready to run through a brick wall now, we are going to be. Here's what he said after the game, quote, "I don't want just one more. You want just one more? I want to win every game we play. I say that humbly. I want to come out every week and compete. I'm still mad about some of the games we lost. I'm excited about the opportunities that are ahead." Boys, we've got the right guy.
Yeah, we got a ball coach.
We do. Yep,
we do.
We absolutely do. Just God. All right, I'm gonna take. When we shut down this headphones, I'm gonna take these this recording. I'm gonna take these headphones off. I'm gonna go run a couple laps around the block, probably with the Nebraska flag. All right, we're doing corn cobs for the best performance of the week. Geoff and Lincoln, who do you got?
Well, as I said last week, and I'll say this again, we love a good star. We love casual fans like myself, love action. We love the highlight reel. We love back in the day on ESPN when they had the top 10 plays of the week, blah, 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 blah. But what I will say is there is a point, and even for myself personally, that even a fundamental awesome play really does save the day. So I'm going to give it to Quentin Newsome for 2 things. And one is just that muffed punt or a muffed kickoff. The one thing I would say about that is that, what was the score at that point? Was it 0-0 at that point still? Or had anybody scored yet?
Are you talking about the first play of the game?
No. So when we dropped.
Oh, when he recovered. Yes.
Was it still 0-0 at that point? I don't think we'd scored yet. So that would have put them deep in our own territory.
That was huge when he jumped on that ball. Yes. And we won the review. Yeah.
Yes. Imagine if that didn't, if he wasn't prepared for that. If Purdue would have had the ball down there, I assume they score after that, right? They're there deep in our own territory. They score first. That completely changes the momentum and the trajectory of the game. So him having the wherewithal in the middle of all of the white that was there, he was the only Nebraska player down there, observant, saw it, dove on it, saved the day, in my opinion. That's part one. Part two, obviously, what's more Hollywood than a blocked field goal kick? Like you said, Owens, that's one of those things that you love it. But what's more Hollywood than a blocked field goal kick? Blocking it and then returning it to the freaking house. I mean, when was the last time that happened? Was that, they said, I think it was probably 2016, maybe even farther back than that.
Charlie
That
probably
is one
remembers.
of the it's like 1898, right? Yeah.
It's been a minute. It's been a minute since we've returned a blocked field goal.
There is, so when people watch Rocky, right? You don't tune in for the defense. You don't want to see Rocky Balboa holding his hands up and having, Clubber Lang holding his hands up and just can't. We want to see offense. We want to see these people like in Rocky IV just beating the living hell out of each other. We love offense. We love scoring explosions. Give it to Newsome. That was freaking incredible.
Absolutely. Great call, Geoff. Matty-O.
Well, first of all, I thought GF was going to recite Rocky's speech from the end of Rocky IV when he's talking to the Russian people.
Anybody can change.
The way I felt about yous. The way yous felt about me.
Everybody can change.
Sorry, I had to get that in there. I went defense last week, and TJ gave me some crap about giving corn cobs to too many guys. And honest to God, I could give it to two of those same guys again. Jamari Butler, I think, is not getting talked about enough.
Loving me some Jamari Butler right now.
Charlie was talking about guys coming off the edge, and he's just all over the place. He popped out that fumble. I think, did Newsome recover that one too? Did he have two? He recovered. Who recovered the one that? Anyway, Jamari punched that one out. Prince will. Uman Mielen, and I keep saying his last name over and over because I think he deserves it.
Uman Mielen.
He is a ball player too. Those two guys, for the next couple of years, hopefully we can hang on to them, and that somebody's not going to try to give them duffel bags of cash and NIL money to go somewhere else. Those guys are going to be studs for us. Already are. But I went defense last week, so I got to go offense this week. I'm going with Emmett Johnson. Guys, we've had a running back lead us in rushing 2 weeks in a row, and I've been a big guy saying that we can't have our quarterback being our leading rusher. It's not a recipe for sustained success.
Nope.
But I want to read this off. Okay. So it was 24-14. We recovered the onside kick, and the drive went like this. Let me pull it up here. I had it just a minute ago. Bear with me, boys.
While you pull that up, Matty, I'll remind folks what we said.
I got it.
Go ahead.
Okay, here's the drive. Emmett Johnson, 4 yards. Emmett Johnson, 4 yards. Emmett Johnson, 8 yards. Emmett Johnson, 2 yards. Heinrich Harburg, 2 yards. Emmett Johnson, 28 yards for a touchdown. Ice it. Game over. I mean, he stepped up, and the guy, and he's, I know he's a young fella, but he seems to fall forward a lot. I know he's not a big guy, but he's getting to be slippery. He's seeing the creases, and I'm loving what I'm seeing from that kid. So Emmett Johnson,
those numbers indicate to me workhorse. It's like my man Frank Gore. Workhorse. Love it.
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, we said it last week. He seems to have, I think people think he's small. I think that's a misconception. He seems to have the right combination of speed and slipperiness. And also he packs a lot of power. And so I think for like a Big Ten, every down back, like I'm super excited about Emmett Johnson moving forward. So great call on that one, Matty. I'm going to go next. And our guest picker is going to go last. So Isaac Gifford gets mine. He made a couple of great plays. Last week. He was in the running for a corn cob last week. A couple I want to call out. This goes back multiple coaching staffs, and all of these coaches know more about football than I do. So I'm sure there's something to it, but it drives me nuts when we have defensive backs running with the receiver. They can see the receiver looking up for the ball, and they don't look up for the ball. And they just, they do something with their hands. It feels like, I'm sure this is wrong. It feels like the receiver always makes the catch. And so Gifford in the first half had that huge pass deflection. So first of all, he ran with the guy step for step. But second of all, I think he kind of half turned his head. I don't really care if he turned his head or not, but he got his arm on the ball. That was a third down pass breakup. And that one was huge. And then early in the second half, it was 3rd and 1. Purdue was still hanging around, felt like they were trying to get some momentum, and he had a huge tackle for loss on 3rd and 1 early in the second half. And that's just two. I mean, that guy's been all over the field. He's such a great athlete. Good Nebraska boy. Love having him on the team. And so Isaac Gifford gets my corn cob. Charlie, what about you?
Love it.
Yeah, so there were so many yesterday. I mean, I think Tommy Hill would have been an easy one. I'll be honest with you guys. I'm a huge Fedoni fan. Fedoni is, we could throw to that dude 50 times a game. Dude is open all the time.
Love him.
Yeah.
We could give Justin Evans Jenkins, a redshirt freshman, probably played 90% of the snaps, interior lineman. Hutmacher is a polar bear freak, just wearing dudes out in the front. I'll be honest with you. If I were to give one out, Coach White. Like I had this conversation.
Love it.
I had this conversation last night with my brother. I said, "Tell me we're running a 3-3-5, same defense we have tried to run the last few years." I said, "We look fast, but we play fast." Right?
Yes.
Like there's a difference, you guys.
Right.
Like we play fast. Those dudes coming off the edge are actually creating big problems for the interior linemen. They're giving our linebackers the opportunity to make plays. They're giving our DBs the chance to just really lock down. Like whatever he is doing, and you guys, he's forgotten more about football than I'll ever know. But what he has done in such a short turnaround, to me, like he's a dude. And you're right, TJ, when you said earlier, like lock that dude up. I don't know that he'll be here forever. But for the time that he's here, he has made and will continue to make a substantial difference. And I think has given our offense more confidence to be able to play a little bit differently as well. Literally, we need to score 3 to 7 points a game, right? If we score 3 to 7 points a game, we're in. We're in the game. But what he's done thus far is super impressive.
Yeah. Love it. I'm going to give you guys 30 seconds to think about a Michigan State score prediction. Common fans, remember to follow us on Twitter at CommonFanGBR. Send us an email, commonfangbr@gmail.com. You can now also find us on Facebook. Follow the Common Fan Facebook page. Follow the Instagram account. I think that's everything, boys. We got Michigan State in East Lansing coming up on Saturday. It's the early game. It's 11 a.m. Central kickoff. All three Common fans in the midseason review picked the Huskers to win this game as well. So we're 2 for 2. We were right on Northwestern. We were right on Purdue. I feel very good about us going 3 for 3 on these initial predictions. What do you got for a score, guys?
I'm going to go 24-10 Huskers.
Love it.
I'm gonna go 20-9. I don't think Michigan State's gonna score on us. I think Purdue got lucky to get a couple of TDs on us. We had to get up a touchdown in like 6 quarters or something like that before they scored on us. So 20-9.
Yep. Charlie?
23-13. I think we're all kind of around that same vein, but I see some field goals. Alvano's another dude. Like he's another dude. We got a guy. Yep.
Absolutely. I'm going to go 23-6. I agree with you, Matty. Like maybe they get a couple of field goals. I think that is a wounded animal of a team, and they don't have a lot to play for right now. No. I think the defense
lost 6 straight.
I think the Blackshirts are going to suffocate those fools, and we're coming home with a W. All right, Common fans, thanks for joining us once again. Thanks especially to our special guest, Charlie Colon, for joining us tonight. As always, make sure to tune into the Huskers bright and early for the early game on Saturday. Any last words, gentlemen?
Just thanks, Charlie, for joining us, and go Big Red, GBR for life.
GBR.
Thanks, Charlie. 2 things, Charlie.
Life. Damn it, Jeff.
What?
All right, go ahead.
No, thanks for joining us. I appreciate you, and thanks for putting out that tweet out there too. That was awesome. That really, I feel like gave us some cred too. So appreciate you.
He already promised you a free chicken sandwich, Jeff.
Yeah, thank you. Okay.
We're worthy. Let's go. Let's go.
All right, GBR fellas, GBR for life.